A few weeks ago, I posted a video covering everything that dropped in Kali Linux 2026.1, the new theme, the backtrack anniversary mode, the kernel upgrade, and the 8 brand new tools that got officially added to the repository. That video told you what was released. This video tells you whether any of it is actually worth installing. Because here's the thing, every time Kali drops new tools, the internet loses its mind. Everyone's excited, everyone's reposting the changelog, everyone's saying, bro, these tools are insane. And then 2 weeks later, nobody's using half of them because nobody actually sat down and tested them properly. So I did. I spent the last week installing all 8 of these tools on a fresh Kali 2026.1 setup. I ran them, broke them, figured out what they actually do in practice, and I'm going to give you my completely honest take on each one. No hype, no sugarcoating, just the truth. Some of these genuinely impressed me. One of them might be the most slept-on thing Kali has added in years. And at least one of them, I'm still scratching my head wondering why it's here. Let's find out which is which. Quick disclaimer before we start. Everything you're about to see was tested in a controlled lab environment on systems I own or have written permission to test. Kali Linux is a professional security research tool. Use it legally. Use it ethically. If you test on systems you don't own or don't have permission to touch, that's illegal, and that's entirely on you. So here's how I'm running these tests. Fresh Kali Linux 2026.1. Clean install. I'm not upgrading from an older version. I want to see exactly what a new user would experience when they encounter these tools for the first time. And I'm judging each tool on 3 things. First, how easy or painful is it to install? Because some tools in Kali look great on paper and then absolutely destroy your system trying to set them up. I'll be honest when that happens. Second, what does it actually do in the real world? Not what the GitHub README says. What happens when you actually run it? Third, does it bring something new to the table? Or is it just doing something we already had a tool for, except worse? By the end of each tool, I'll give you one clear answer. Keep it, meaning it genuinely earns a place in your toolkit, or skip it, meaning you can try it if you're curious, but don't stress over it. Let's go. Tool number 1. Adaptic C2. And I'm going to start with this one because if I put it anywhere else, you might miss it, and that would be a shame. Adaptic C2 is a post-exploitation and adversarial emulation framework. Now I know that sounds like a mouthful, so let me break it down in plain English. Imagine you're a red teamer. You've already gotten inside a target network, that's the exploitation part. Post-exploitation is everything that happens after. Maintaining access, moving around the network, exfiltrating data, escalating privileges. That's what a framework like this helps you manage. Now, installing it. Sudo apt install adaptix c2-y. And honestly, clean install. No drama, no broken dependencies, no error messages filling your terminal. It installed in under a minute and launched without any issues. That's a great sign. Once it's running, what you get is a modular command and control framework, C2 for short. And the thing that makes Adaptic C2 stand out from the dozen other C2 tools already out there is one word, extensibility. You can write your own modules. You can plug in custom agents. You can completely customize how it communicates with compromised machines. And that matters more than it might sound. Here's the real-world context. If you're doing a pen test and you use something like Metasploit's default Meterpreter agent, modern endpoint detection software knows exactly what that looks like. It's been around for years, the signatures are everywhere, and a decent EDR will catch it almost immediately. Adaptic C2 lets you build something that doesn't look like anything defenders have already seen. You're not using a pre-made signature, you're crafting your own. And in 2026, where blue teams are getting better and better at detection, that kind of flexibility is genuinely valuable. Now, full transparency. This tool is not perfect right now. The documentation is thin. The community around it is still small. You'll hit rough edges if you try to do advanced things with it. It's not going to replace mature commercial tools for experienced operators overnight. But as a learning platform for adversary emulation, as a customizable framework for red teamers who want something that doesn't announce itself, this is a legitimate, exciting addition. Keep it, especially if you're getting into red teaming or want to understand how C2 frameworks work from the inside. Tool number 2, Fluxion. And this one I have genuinely mixed feelings about. Not because of what it does, but because of what it is. Fluxion is a social engineering and Wi-Fi security auditing tool. Specifically, it creates what's called an evil twin attack. It sets up a fake Wi-Fi access point that looks exactly like a legitimate one. When a user connects to it and tries to authenticate, their credentials get captured. It also does captive portal attacks, where instead of a password prompt, the victim gets a fake login page, like a hotel Wi-Fi page, asking them to enter their network password to reconnect. Now, installation. Sudo apt install Fluxion-y. And this is actually where Fluxion really shines. If you've tried to install Fluxion before, like a couple of years ago as a standalone project outside of Kali's repos, you know it was a mess. Dependencies breaking, Python version conflicts, things just not working. It was painful. Now that it's officially in Kali's repos, one command, clean install, no issues whatsoever. It just works. Launch it. Sudo Fluxion. You get a clean menu-driven interface. Scan for nearby networks, pick your target, choose your attack type, set up the portal template, and Fluxion handles everything from there. Very beginner-friendly once you're inside. There's one hardware requirement though. You need a wireless adapter that supports monitor mode. Your built-in laptop Wi-Fi almost certainly doesn't. You'll need an external USB adapter like the Alpha AWUS036ACH or similar. Without that, the tool won't be able to do its thing. Here's my honest take. Fluxion as a tool? Solid. It works well, and it's a genuinely valuable way to understand how Wi-Fi social engineering attacks happen in an authorized lab setting. But Fluxion as a new Kali edition? It's been a well-known standalone project since 2016. If you've been in security for more than a year, you've probably already heard of it or used it. Adding it to the official repos makes it more accessible to new users, which is good, but it's not going to surprise anyone who's been around. Keep it if you're a student or learning about Wi-Fi security. Skip it if you already have it set up. Either way, the official repo version is the cleanest installation experience it's ever had. Tool number 3, GEF, short for GDB Enhanced Features. Now, this one is specifically for people who do binary exploitation, reverse engineering, or CTF challenges. If that's not you, you can skip ahead, but honestly, stick around for 2 minutes because understanding what this does will change how you think about debugging tools. Installation. Sudo apt install GEF-Y. Completely painless. Done in seconds. Then you just launch GDB like you normally would on any binary, gdb./sum_binary. And here's where everything changes. If you've ever used vanilla GDB before, the default unmodified GNU debugger, you know how absolutely miserable the experience is. It's plain text, no color, no visual context. You're trying to understand what's happening in memory, in registers, in the stack, and it just dumps raw text at you with zero structure. It's like trying to read a book where every page is the same wall of black text with no headings, no paragraphs, no punctuation. Technically, the information is all there, but making sense of it is exhausting. GEF fixes all of that. The moment you step through a function in GDB with GEF installed, you get a live panel showing you the current state of every register, the stack layout, the disassembled code around your current position, and memory contents. All color-coded, all organized, all updating automatically as you step through execution. One command that used to take you 5 steps now takes 1. Heap analysis, row-p gadget searching, format string vulnerability detection, it's all built in. For binary exploitation and CTF work, GEF is not a nice extra. It is the standard. Most experienced security researchers have been using it as a personal install for years. The fact that it's now officially in Kali repos just means nobody has to go hunting for it anymore. No question. Keep it. Tool number 4, Atomic Operator. And this one needs a bit of context before the demo, because without the context, it just looks like another random script runner. With the context, it becomes one of the most practically valuable tools in this entire release. Atomic Operator is a framework for executing atomic red team tests. Now, Atomic Red Team is an open source project that contains a huge library of small, focused attack simulations. Each one simulates a specific technique that real-world attackers use. Things like credential dumping, lateral movement, privilege escalation, persistence mechanism. These techniques are all mapped to the MITRE AT and CK framework, which is essentially the industry's master catalog of how attackers actually operate. What Atomic Operator does is give you a clean, simple way to run these simulations on your own environment. Installation is actually one of the smoothest in this entire release. Sudo apt install Python 3-atomic-operator. Done. Launch a test like this. Atomic-operator run --atomics T1003.001. That T1003.001 is the MITRE technique ID for credential dumping via LSASS memory. What just happened is, Atomic-operator simulated exactly what an attacker would do to steal credentials from a Windows machine's memory. If you have endpoint detection running, it either caught that simulation or it didn't. That's the whole point. This tool is not really for attackers. It's genuinely a defensive security tool. It helps you answer the most important question in security. Do my defenses actually work, or do I just think they do? Most organizations run SIEM tools, eater products, detection rules, and they assume those things are working because they've never been tested. Atomic Operator lets you test them systematically, technique by technique, and find the gaps before a real attacker does. For anyone doing purple team exercises, blue team validation, or SOC testing, this tool is essential. Keep it. Tool number 5, WPProbe. Web application test, specifically WordPress plugin enumeration. Now I know what some of you are thinking. We already have WP Scan. Why do we need another WordPress tool? And that's a fair question. I asked myself the same thing when I first saw this in the changelog. but give me 2 minutes and I'll show you exactly why this one has a reason to exist. Installation. Sudo apt install WPProbe-y. Clean. No issues. Runs immediately. Now run it against a target. What WPProbe does is enumerate WordPress plugins, which plugins are installed, what versions they're running, and whether those versions have known vulnerabilities linked to them. Yes, WPScan does this too, but here's the difference. WPScan is powerful but loud. When it scans a target, it makes a lot of requests in a pattern that modern web application firewalls and intrusion detection systems have learned to recognize. You can tune it, but by default, it announces itself. WPProbe is designed specifically to be fast and quiet. It uses a smarter enumeration approach that generates significantly less noise in server logs and is less likely to trigger WAF rules, especially in the early reconnaissance phase when you don't want the target knowing you're looking. I ran both tools against the same WordPress test site and compared the server logs afterward. WPScan left a very clear fingerprint. WPProbe found the same plugin list, actually slightly faster, and left much less of a trace. Is WPProbe a WPScan replacement? Absolutely not. WPScan has far more features, a bigger vulnerability database, and a more active community. But WPProbe fills a specific gap. Early, quiet reconnaissance when you need to stay under the radar. Keep it. Use both. They serve slightly different purposes and complement each other well. Tool number 6. XSStrike. And this is the one I want you to pay the most attention to. XSStrike is a cross-site scripting scanner. XSS, for anyone who needs a quick refresher, is a type of web vulnerability where an attacker can inject malicious scripts into a website that then run in other users' browser. It's one of the most common and most exploited web vulnerabilities out there. Installation. Sudo apt install XSStrike-y. Smooth install. No complaints. Run it. Now here is where this tool completely separates itself from every other XSS scanner you've used before. Most XSS scanners work like this. They take a list of pre-made payloads, inject them one by one into a parameter, and check if the payload reflects back in the response. If it does, they flag it as a potential XSS. For web application pen testers and bug bounty hunters, XSStrike is not optional. It goes in your toolkit today, and it stays there. Best tool in this release. Keep it. No hesitation. Tool number 7, Metasploit MCP. And this one is genuinely interesting because it's not a traditional pen testing tool at all. It's a bridge. Metasploit MCP is an MCP server, Model Context Protocol server, built specifically for the Metasploit Framework. And if that sounds technical, let me make it very simple. MCP is the protocol that lets AI assistants, like Claude or any other AI tool, actually connect to and control external application. Metasploit MCP essentially gives AI systems a direct interface into Metasploit. What that means practically, instead of manually typing Metasploit commands yourself, you could tell an AI assistant in plain English, scan this target, find vulnerabilities, suggest exploits, and the AI actually executes those actions inside Metasploit through Metasploit MCP. Installing it. Sudo apt install Metasploit MCP-y. Straightforward install. But here's the honest caveat. To actually use this, you need an AI tool that supports MCP connections already set up. If you're just running vanilla Kali with no AI integration configured, this does nothing for you right now. For most beginners and intermediate users, this won't change your workflow today. But for people exploring AI-assisted penetration testing and automation, this is the beginning of something genuinely significant. The idea of natural language driving Metasploit is not science fiction anymore. Metasploit MCP is the infrastructure that makes it possible. Keep it, but consider it a forward-looking investment rather than a tool you'll use tomorrow. Tool number 8, SSTImap. And I saved this one for last on purpose because I think it's the most underappreciated tool in this entire release. SSTImap is an automatic server-side template injection detection and exploitation. SSTI, let me explain this clearly because it's a vulnerability type that a lot of people, even experienced pen testers, overlook. When web applications build dynamic pages, they often use template engine, things like Jinja 2, Twig, FreeMarker, Velocity. Template injection happens when user input gets passed directly into a template engine without being sanitized properly. And when that happens, an attacker can inject template syntax that the server actually executes. In the worst cases, this leads directly to remote code execution, full control of the server. SSTI is dangerous precisely because it looks innocent on the surface. A parameter that just reflects your input back might seem harmless. SSTImap knows it isn't. Installing it. Sudo apt install SSTImap-y. Clean, fast, no issues at all. Run it. SSTImap-u, scanme.nmap.org. SSTImap automatically tests for template injection across multiple template engines simultaneously. It identifies which engine is in use, confirms the injection, and then offers an interactive mode where you can escalate, from reading files to executing commands on the server. What I genuinely like about it is the interactive interface. After detection, it doesn't just tell you vulnerability found and leave you to figure out the rest. It walks you through escalation steps in a structured way, which is incredibly useful for learning and for documenting findings in a report. For web application pen testers and bug bounty hunters, SSTI is a high-severity vulnerability category, and it gets missed constantly. SSTImap is the dedicated tool that catches it automatically. Keep it, easily. This one deserves more attention than it's going to get. All right, 8 tools, 1 week. Here's the final honest summary. This was a genuinely strong release. Not every Kali update lands this well. At least 3 of these tools, XSStrike, SSTImap, and Atomic Operator, are going into my real workflow immediately, and that doesn't happen every quarter. That's all 8 tools, tested, explained, and ranked honestly. If you haven't watched the previous video where I covered everything else in Kali 2026.1, the theme, backtrack mode, kernel updates, all of it, it's linked on screen right now. Go check that one out. And when Kali 2026.2 drops, which should be very soon, I'll be doing the exact same thing. Every new tool tested, every result shared honestly. Subscribe and hit the bell so you're there for it. Drop a comment and tell me, which of these 8 are you installing first? If enough of you say SSTImap or Adaptic C2, that full deep dive video is coming next. See you in the next one.